Community engagement is imperative in the climate change process because you can have exceptional leadership coming out of local government, but ultimately implementation happens across a number of sectors. So if you're not engaging the community in the planning process and getting buy-in, then implementing the actions that are required to really move towards substantive change just won't happen. You just won't have industry and businesses, small businesses, residents, the academic sector, the NGO sector. If they're not engaged in the planning process, it's going to be very difficult to get them to want to implement the actions. Climate change is a global issue. It's harder for a small, medium business in a residential neighborhood to really see necessarily the direct impacts of climate change. So if they're not getting that broader view and sharing some of the ideas across different sectors, it's really hard to put direct action together with impact. One of the great frameworks that I've seen developed came out of sustainable cities, and it's called the four-directional model for engaging communities. Effectively, the four-directional model is top-down, so you need that strong political leadership, that strong executive leadership in an organization. Bottom-up, you need to be engaging at the grassroots level, whether that's a community association or an employee group. Outside in is really about bringing technical expertise that often doesn't reside within the organization or within the community. So that outside in is that technical expertise into the process. And then inside out is sharing those great lessons learned out to other communities and other businesses. So I think that model can be extremely effective as a way of thinking about, are we engaging holistically the community actors and stakeholders that need to be involved in process. Authenticity. I think the single most important advice I would have for a community embarking on engagement around a community energy plan or climate adaptation strategy or sustainability plan is reach out in a way that you genuinely want to hear back from your community. I think where communities have fallen down in the past is whether it's a land use planning process or a climate action plan, is they go out to the community with a process that's been already constructed and they're just looking for a bit of feedback. I think true community engagement starts with not quite a blank slate, but as much of a blank slate as you possibly can. If you're going in to engage in a community that has very strong relational structures in place, you really need to find out what's the missing element and can you bring that to the community. So it might be a technical expertise, it might be experience working in similar communities in a different context, but looking for that opportunity of where's the real need and how do you fill that. Because coming in and trying to be the expert in all situations just doesn't work that well if you don't appreciate the local context and the local relationships. Having a more diverse group at the table, although can be challenging, brings interesting new ideas and synergies to the table that might not otherwise happen. So in many processes, ironically, we're talking about future generations and the impact that decisions today will have in hundreds of years from now in our communities, yet youth are often absent from the table. And so you need some of these perspectives that, yes, are harder to engage and yes, maybe challenging to bridge the conversation gap between the corporate sector and youth and seniors and First Nations and different groups that are often not at the table. But to come up with the best solutions, you need to have all of them there. At the end of the day, the sectors are the sectors. So the business community has its interests, local government has its directives. And so if you go in with understanding the different motivations of each sector, it doesn't matter where it is. This work is transferable anywhere in the world to any kind of community. It's about engaging cross-sectoral folks in the conversation.